NVIDIA has hit the biggest milestone inside the financial markets, the US financial market. It's become more valuable than Microsoft, Apple. It's the number one in the US market, but it has to contend with structure. I'm going to give you some very, very valuable tips on how to read where NVIDIA and the entire market could be going next. Let's run the numbers. Wouldn't it be just fantastic if you could see the entire market, all the charts that mattered, just on one piece of paper? Yeah, you can. That's the purpose of the CTKS method cheat sheet. These two top rows are the most important rows to understand. They will lead into directional biases across the major markets, major stocks, and also crypto. We also have to keep an idea on US liquidity, the FOMC, liquidations, and what's happening economically. I'll take you through it. Hi everyone, I'm Ken from Crypto Trading KS and the CTKS method. If you're new, a very warm welcome and welcome back, CTKS family. We're seeing in the past 24 hours the VIX has retraced. We've also seen negative price momentum on the DXY as well as the US 10-year yield. The US 2 is currently consolidating and oil has been going nuts recently. Due to the yields just backing off a little bit and the DXY losing strength, this pushes risk-on behavior inside the markets, which shows through junk bonds, turning positive. Also supplemented by the euro and the Aussie dollar going stronger. This is really helping the major market indices to move higher, and they're really moving higher. Apple, Tesla, Microsoft are all following a positive price path right at the current time. And Apple is incredibly strong in its price path, but it's just retracing at the current time. The current standout story is NVIDIA. It's become the US's number one market cap firm. We saw in the past 24 hours as Bitcoin pulled back and total crypto market cap went backwards. It impacted the entire crypto market. You can see negative price momentum all over the place. The markets for the past week or so have been dephasing. I'll give you an indication of what I mean. The probability of a Fed easing actually decreased from 9.3% yesterday to 7.2% today. Typically what that does is put upwards pressure on the US 10, the US 2, in other words the yields, and also the DXY. What we've seen is actually the opposite occurring inside the markets. The DXY has been going on its own path and actually inverting what's happening with yields. Typically, they move together. We've been seeing an AI story just eventuate inside the stock market led by NVIDIA. And when we look at global stock markets, it's no wonder that Taiwan's index is up so much. It's going parabolic. This gives you an idea of how Taiwan's index has just been coming up and up and up. Even though the major markets, the S&P 500 has been going crazy, we've noticed that Bitcoin has been coming down. The Nasdaq has been doing really well, but Bitcoin and crypto have been coming down. It's more following the Dow at the current time and the Russell as well. But we're seeing just the very early stages of a potential turnaround in both the Russell, and you can see that breakout there, and also the Dow, which is much more constructive. To understand crypto, we must understand Bitcoin's gravitational bias. As Bitcoin goes up, the entire alt market will come up with it. But if it comes down, the alts will bleed. This is the way of crypto, and it's always been this way. That's why we say no alt can escape Bitcoin's gravity. For example, yesterday we were talking about XRP, that it was just breaking out, showing some early signs of breakout. But I said, if Bitcoin comes down, XRP will come down, and that's exactly what happened. This is a rule that you can use time and time again to time your trades, and timing of your trades and your investments is really important. Investors and traders are very yield sensitive. Now, what does that mean? Yield is percentage return. If other countries, for example, are offering better interest rates, they'll get capital inflows to take advantage of those. And if a particular chart, say Bitcoin, is coming down and it's rejected structural resistance, there will be outflows from the crypto market into the stock market. If the stock market tends to flatten out, there are typically inflows into the crypto market from the stock market. It's all yield dependent. This is just a normal factor that occurs right across global markets. Now, looking at Bitcoin's structural levels, and here we've marked up in excess of 5,200 days with the world's most powerful smart money buy and sell level detection system that creates these lines called SLs or Stanfield levels. They're structural levels that actually tell us what's going on throughout all the price history, and they're remarkable. For example, when Bitcoin was up here at 66,846, it couldn't confirm that as support. It couldn't flip it and go higher. The result was going to be that it would come down to that 66,117. If it couldn't convert this to support, in other words, flip it. If it can't flip it, it's going down. And you can see it well and truly couldn't flip it. Now, where does it go down to? You're correct, the next structural level. And what does it do there? If it can flip it, and here was the flipping, it's coming up to the next one. If it passes through it, it's going to the one above. But you can see it couldn't flip the $67,000 level. So what happened there? It also created weakness at the 66,846 and dropped through the 66,117. It was caught at 65,322, but couldn't confirm, so it came down to the 64,168 level. Right now, we're seeking to overcome that 65,322. We're not doing such a good job. Bitcoin is currently $65,110. There are two cases that can literally unfold here, two probabilistic cases. Either we're going to confirm 65,322 as structural support, in other words, flip it and go up and challenge the 66 and the 66.8 level, or we're not going to. We're going to fail to flip it. If we fail to flip it, we'll get flipped off and come back to the 64,168 mark. Please let me know in the comments, do you think we're going to get flipped off here, or do you think we're going to flip sensationally to the upside? It's vitally important that you understand that all markets are intercorrelated and interconnected. What we've seen recently is Bitcoin and crypto. Of course, Bitcoin leads the charge for the crypto space, but the entire crypto market has been coming down while the stock market has been going up. This is quite strange. We've seen the crypto is starting to follow the yields. This happened in the last bull run. We may get a passing across phase where we start to synchronize in with yields. We used to synchronize in with bond prices. This is financial markets for you. They always change character. And here you go. Gold and Bitcoin are pretty much moving in alignment with each other. Just be aware, the markets are throwing very strange signals at the current time. For example, a lot of people say if the dollar goes down, Bitcoin must go up, but you can see it's been going down. It's also important to keep your eye on total crypto market cap. As we saw at the start of the month, we were following the consolidation path and going slightly positive, but since then we've just decayed down to the negative path. That was primarily due to US dollar currency index or DXY strength. But now things start to be flipping around. When we look at Ethereum, we've marked up over 3,000 days worth of data, and we can see this 3486 structural level is impeding Ethereum's upward price momentum. We're also getting a bit of a sell arc, so we may see a retest of this 3450 level. Ethereum is currently 3475. Crypto started the month really well, but we can see that BNB just came back from its positive path and is now on a consolidation path. XRP was a lot weaker than what Binance Coin was, and you can see that negative price action. But you can also see it held the negative price path specifically well. It's trying to move back up to the consolidation path. Often, when something gets very, very oversold, it doesn't take much for the shorts to come in and expect it's going to go down forever, and those shorts get liquidated, forcing the price upwards. If you're new to our community, a very warm welcome. Consider smashing that like button and please subscribe. We have one of the best communities on YouTube. When we look at Solana's price, it didn't start up like BNB and it didn't decay down like XRP. It went relatively flat, but it's been weakening over time. The question that should pass across your mind, why are the different kind of price actions playing out on these charts? Why isn't Solana just like BNB or XRP or like ETH or like Bitcoin? The answer is structure. Every single chart has a different structure, and price relates and interacts with that structure to either support it or to push it down. We do these price paths to understand where a particular chart is going. We can see at the current time, Solana's just following this negative price path. It's just below consolidation. For example, when we do the structural analysis on Dogecoin and these particular lines are drawn up with level 2 standard certification, you can see that Doge has been following that negative price path almost to a ping. That's what typically happens if we see some particular chart experiencing adverse reactions. We tend to see it just following the specific path, either to the upside or to the downside. These paths are not seeking to just try to estimate price, although they can do a fairly good job from time to time. What we're seeking to do is to understand the end of month price and also to understand normalized price momentum, the upper boundary and the lower boundaries the price can go to in any specific month. And those paths do a fantastic job of that. How does it all relate to the cheat sheet? If you look down here at Doge, you can see it's under negative price momentum. It's also going strongly negative as far as that path is concerned. This is how we read this particular chart. This is what all these colored areas mean. For example, Litecoin is deeply negative, ADA deeply negative, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum Classic, and Doge deeply negative. The euro dollar is deeply negative, but oil is going crazy. It's going nuts, as is the DXY, the NASDAQ, Apple, and NVIDIA's not going nuts yet, which is really interesting. Microsoft has also gone on its positive price path. That's how all the things are stitched together in one simple page. It's really quite amazing. If you're inside the service, please refer to 000 updates and requests for charts and the June CTKS paths pre-release before the main video. This particular article will take you through all the price paths across all the service indicators. For example, those price paths are released at the start of the month and they have an upper boundary, a consolidation boundary and a lower boundary. You can see that the Doge path has been followed quite successfully. It's important to know your paths because if it's going positive, it's likely to continue, but if it's going negative, it's also likely to continue until structure gets flipped. For example, let's have a look at the AI proxy, which is NVIDIA. We're going to see here, you can see the price path was drawn up and these price paths never change throughout the month. They're always stayed exactly as they are. They are not altered to reflect anything the price is doing. So let's look at the chart now and see what's happened with NVIDIA, the US's most valuable company. We can see that last month, the upwards price path was predicting about a 40% increase, and that was hit just after a couple of days at the end of the month. But you can see it contained price extremely well. Having an upper boundary and a lower boundary is very advantageous. Now let's have a look at NVIDIA's upper and lower boundaries. What we can see here, if NVIDIA continues to just have that positive momentum, it will close out at the target of 33 23.92% up. In case you're not inside the service, the upper boundary path or the target for this month for NVIDIA is 152 and 14, the consolidation 113 and 66, the negative 82.35. The reason that we do these, we must be prepared for the upside, the neutral side, and the negative side at all times, because price is just moving in a wave between structural levels. If it can't overcome a structural level, if it can't flip it, it's going to come down, and this is really important to understand. This helps you think in terms of 3 dimensions, but the much more important thing is to think in terms of structure. So I'm just going to put on the indicator so you can see these structural levels. These paths are drawn by a knowledge of structural understanding. One thing to always understand, structure is incredibly important. If it's a very thick area of structural either resistance or support, in this case it was resistance back on around the 4th, when we see a heavy level of structural resistance, it typically takes a long time to consolidate above that before it can flip it into structural support and make its way. But when does it make its way up to? You got it, structural levels. These structural levels are incredibly important to understand, and we can see an upper one around that 138 mark that NVIDIA has to contend with next. If it can't get above that 138 level, it's going to try to reconsolidate at 132. It's all about confirming structure. As price is always moving in a wave, we just realize that this is part and parcel of what happens inside financial markets. If we fail at structural levels, we'll move towards the lower structural level, and we'll either reconfirm it or we'll fail at that level. If we fail, we're going down to the next one. You can think about it like this. Structural levels above the current price are where the sellers are hanging out, and structural levels below the current price are where buyers are hanging out. The indicator, which is this one, and you can see NVIDIA's come up 94.82% in the last 30 days. Always be prepared for 3-dimensional price action. Price is always moving in a wave up to a structural level. If it confirms it, up to the next one. If it confirms it, up to the next one. But there are a lot of wicks in this kind of action. That's why you must know where the structure is. If you don't know where the structure is, it's just like guessing. For example, if you were looking at a chart like this, you would just do recent indicative price action, and you would try to figure out where the resistance and support levels are by looking back just over a couple of weeks. But the problem with this, NVIDIA has been trading in excess of 9,000 days. If you get 1% of the data just looking back a week or so, you're missing 99% of the price history, and that is a big, big problem for the fact of statistical significance. A lot of people try to just fix this problem with recent indicative price by throwing on daily EMAs or SMAs or all sorts of indicators, but indicators don't necessarily tell you where structural resistance levels are, and you can see that that particular indicator, let me pop it on again. The indicator from the service is rightward looking. These indicators, normal statistical indicators, are leftwards looking. There's no dotted line here. We don't know where it's going, but we certainly know where the structure is. And you can see that it's scary in how structure is obeyed at all times. So for example, when you see on NVIDIA's chart, it's green and green. I'll just take you back there. This is where it comes from. Therefore, when we come to the cheat sheet and when we look at NVIDIA, that is what that green area is for. That's the percentage change of 30-day price. You can see that one here. And the CTKS path with this which is the structural path, that's this one. You can see that it's green. It's not strong positive, it's just positive. It has to get over an area of structural resistance to turn strong positive. So when you see things like Apple with a strong positive, NASDAQ with a strong positive, they're getting close to just hitting their monthly targets, and the DXY has already hit it. This is very abnormal to hit it so early in the month. We typically hit it just a couple of days before the start of the new month, but we're hitting it sort of midway into the month. Now, this means that there's abnormal behavior with the DXY. And this is the thing that's just rattling markets at the current time. You may also look for correlations and associations. You notice that DXY is strong positive and it's hit its price target, and oil is strong positive and it's hit its price target as well. Right at this point of time, the normal associations that occur inside the market are going just everywhere. This kind of discontinuation or disassociation just means that we need to pay attention to what individual charts are doing. And coming up, we still have some economic data to be released. We've seen inside the crypto market massive liquidations. Yesterday and today, we've seen just in the past 24 hours 355.36 million in liquidations, the majority of which were the long liquidations, and 140,000, nearly 141,000 positions were liquidated. Market makers understand that they can't keep on liquidating people. They've got to give them a chance to make some profit, or they will just turn their back on the markets. So just be aware of this. And we also know that when the best performers have stable coins in them, the market has been hit with tremendous long liquidations, having the greatest gainers as stable coins. Stable coins are supposed to stay at $1. It means there's been a mass sell-off inside the markets, and we can see that because of all these deeply red areas on the CTKS paths. To get used to the cheat sheet does take some time, but it's incredibly valuable when you understand it. And you can download this cheat sheet for free by just logging in to ctksmethod.org. And we are specialists in decoding financial markets instead of just looking at one thing, for example, Bitcoin or, for example, Tesla. We look at everything. This gives us an edge, and you need edges inside financial markets. Have a great day or night ahead, my friends, and Kate and I look forward to catching up with you again in the next video. Bye for now.